order. Roll call shows that all the councilors are here. Mike is on vacation, but we have Patrick and we have, oh, am I good?
Yeah.
Okay. We're just practicing. Make sure we get this back in person thing done. Anton is here remotely, and Kim is here remotely as well. We have Chris Hood, City Attorney. Open forum. So does anyone have any open forum items that they've received?
Did any of you get 2 letters today?
I sent them to Patrick.
Okay.
So,
I only got one, Jay.
oh, you got one? Which one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one from Catherine Ramberg, so I'll.
Okay,
read that
I'll
one.
send the other one right now.
All right, this is from Catherine Ramberg, and it reads, "Hello. First of all, thank you for serving on our city and working so hard for our residents. I find myself in the position to reach out and ask for your help. I live at 509 4th Avenue West on the new dirt road that goes behind the recycling center. I did not buy this house when it was a dirt road, and no one informed me that the pavement was to be ripped up and turned into dirt. Even with the potholes, I like the pavement better. It slowed people down. The amount of dirt that is being blown onto my property is becoming unmanageable. My cars and driveway, hammock, and gardens are all completely covered in dirt. This tracks into my house and is a general nuisance. Now my air filters, sliding door, windows, and tabletops are covered with dirt. The amount of time it takes me to keep up with this and the wear and tear on everything is becoming ridiculous. One day I woke up to a street sweeper pushing the dirt off the community center parking lot. I am not exaggerating when I say I could not see 5th Street. It looked like I was in a desert. The amount of dirt blown up was incredible and problematic. I would love a paved road here again, but in the meantime, can I please get to the top of the list on the calcium chloride schedule? I would bet that this road is busier than most other dirt roads in town. Many use it as an alternate route to avoid the stoplight. Sincerely, Catherine Ramberg." Now I got the next one. This is from Jeffrey Getches, sorry. "Hey y'all, hope you're well. We had a brilliant idea, as you all well know. The city-owned alley behind the tavern, Ben Franklin, DeCoux, is the last unpaved alley in town, but one that gets used as much or more than most, if not all. In the winter, we have had trucks run into our building because of the uneven snow depths. We have been told by the city that we're supposed to call them when the alley needs plowing. I would think that if the streets need plowing, the alley would probably need plowing as well. When filling potholes, the city just adds more fill across the entire alley without first filling the holes, creating a higher elevation of the alley. The holes reappear, and because of the alley being higher than the original grade, ice and water finds its way in our walk-in cooler area, creating a hazard. Dust blows into our kitchen and building and fresh air intake, as well as our rooftop seating area. I have talked with the city about paving the alley, and they informed me that 75% of the businesses would have to be okay with the project, and that payment for it would come from added tax assessments. My whole point of this long-winded coffee-influenced letter is that the state is a few yards away with blacktop equipment this summer and could do the job a lot faster and less expensive than having a company come in, set up and do the job. I believe the cost of the project would be covered by the city. They own the alley, and the alley is instrumental for many businesses to operate smoothly. However, if that is not possible, I would be fine paying for part of the project through taxes. I just think we could save a lot of money having MnDOT do it, and we wouldn't have to have the alley closed very long, and it would happen in a timely manner. Please let me know your thoughts on this matter. Thanks, and have a beautiful day. Jeff Tavern."
Anything else for the open forum? All right, close the open forum, move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda has a typical 3 items: this meeting's agenda, previous meeting minutes, and the payment of the bills since our last meeting. Unless someone would like to pull for discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
There-
So move.
There's the addition of
Oh,
the hiring.
Oh, right.
That's the
There's
the
a hiring
Lions?
memo and a permit for a raffle from the.
Yeah, the gambling permit for the,
from the
okay,
Lions Club.
And both of those would be part of the consent?
yes.
Yeah.
agenda? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So,
So can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
Just because we've had so many meetings. It said last time, and I guess I should have watched, Anton was not here. He was not remotely participating last
I
time?
don't think so.
No.
Okay.
We waited.
He's
No
not,
green dot?
he's not
Green dot?
answering us. Okay, I'm like, I could have had it wrong, but
Right.
I'm good, thank you.
So we have the amended consent agenda with the memo and the gambling permit for the Lions Club for the raffle.
Okay.
Um,
I would move the amended consent agenda.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second
A
that.
motion and a second. And since Anton is remote, we have to do a roll call vote. So we will start with Anton. Your vote?
Aye.
Craig, your vote?
Aye.
Kelly, your vote?
Aye.
Michael, your vote?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Consent agenda carries. Moving on to the Planning Commission report. So we have 3 items on this. We have 2 items here, 2 people here who were at those meetings. So I think what I would like to do is have you guys introduce these items and go with that.
You're the chairperson, so
All
I
right.
will,
Ooh,
I will,
there we go.
I will let you, and I'll add if I feel I need to. How's that?
Perfect.
Yeah, so starting, I guess, at the top with McClure. Yeah, we went through that on planning and zoning. And yeah, we found that it made sense to make sure that the hours of operation, I think that the idea that was put forward was that, it should be true for people to be able to come home to their homes and be home, and that there's not business also going on there, especially if they work here in this town. It'd be nice for them to be able to go home and be home and not have work going on, customers coming. So I guess that was true for Marxen as well. So for both Marxen and McClure, for the conditions, we had 9 to 5 set as the times of operation. And yeah, I guess I'm kind of bringing those 2 together because they kind of are right by each other, so that makes sense. Also the off-street for the Marxen, making sure that anything that's happening is actually happening off-street aside from his own vehicle.
And McClure, both had to provide off-street parking.
Right, right. Is that true?
It is true.
Okay.
I would not lie to you.
Yeah.
It's even here in this
It's,
stuff.
that's
yeah.
in this.
Let it be written.
And then also for, strangely enough, we had also said for Marxen that he could not use any welding equipment, even though persons can have it, businesses in the R1 cannot have it and use
Oh,
it.
as per the ordinance.
As
Yeah.
per the ordinance. So for hire, welding for hire cannot be part of Larry's on-site business,
Wow.
the Marxen
There you go.
request.
But if you were just doing it for your own fun, you can do it. But it's not how it
Well, there
is,
you have it.
unfortunately, for him. So those were those 2. Anything more for that, Kelly, that comes to your mind? You said
No,
the time.
I think that pretty much describes all 3. I think that we did talk as a group, a commission, about, how it's residential, we've got
Right.
businesses, how far do things carry?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But we also went back and went through the process of how things are set in place and what we consider, the use conforms to the land use. It's compatible with the existing neighborhood because we're not asking to change structures, to create parking areas. Obviously, the Marxen one with a small engine repair could have some noise, but again, we went with 9 to 5, a business type hour setting, which seemed to fit most of the letters that wrote
Yeah,
to
we
us
did get an
asking
awful
about a quiet,
lot of
Right,
quieter
comments.
time.
right.
Yeah.
So I think I felt good that we really went through the process of what needs to be done and what are our guiding principles.
Yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
the purpose of the ordinance
Yes.
to
Right.
provide residential zone with residential characteristics.
Right.
yeah, and, but to that as well, I mean, we were also within that is making sure that people can live here, that they can have suitable jobs and
Mhm.
enough money and that kind of thing. And so that was that balance of making sure that, yes, you can do your side gig, or maybe it's not your side gig, but you can do your business, but we still have to be able to live, so how do we get that to work together? So I
Right.
felt like that was a nice balance in the end.
And I think, COVID has obviously shown us that people can work at home, right? So there might be people that are doing accounting businesses within their homes, different things that are occurring now. So I feel that we went back and used the principles that are put in place, the ordinances, and looked at everything and passed both of those
Yeah,
overwhelmingly.
yeah. So then we have the variance that was asked for, that was denied.
Mayor, can I jump in? for a
Oh, sure,
second?
go ahead.
We should really take up these one at a time. In particular, the variance, that definitely should be something separate. We need to have a separate and distinct discussion on
Okay,
that.
got it.
Okay.
So well, I guess we can do them one by one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I understand with Resolution 2021-04 and 2021-05, that a lot of the characteristics that went into the conversation for those were similar,
Yes.
even though the considerations for each was individual. So I understand why that conversation bled into, bled into each of the other ones. Just to be clear, Resolution 2021-04, the McClure conditional use permit was for a chiropractic practice within the R1 zone on Broadway. And the Marxen conditional use permit 2021-05 was for a small engine repair. And did he include fabrication as well? Small engine repair business? I can't remember.
I
when
have
was
to look
looking
at what it says. Small engine repair. That's not what it says here.
It says small engine repair. Yep.
Yeah,
So a small engine repair business, though that's what those two were for. And considerations for both of those were written out individually and identified for each specific case.
Do we need to identify those before we vote?
We don't need to unless we feel we should.
Okay.
I feel like the conversation that we had was, covered the grounds of what the considerations were that went into both of those. It is kind of rare that we would get two of the same type of request.
right across
You
the
know,
street from each other.
Yeah, basically across the street from each other in the same zone. But yeah, I understand why you did that. So with that considered, does anyone have any strong feelings about Resolution 2021-04 or 05 for a motion?
So I would make a motion that we pass Resolution 2021-04 for Catherine McClure.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I would second.
Motion and a second? Chris is not, yeah, so that's cool. You guys are on both, and you can totally do that. I just was
Good.
wondering, yeah, that works. Because Tim would always make the motions for the planning commission stuff
Mhm.
anyway. So, okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion about Resolution 2021-04? Hearing none, we'll go to roll call vote. Anton, your vote?
Aye.
Craig, your vote?
Aye.
Kelly, your vote?
Aye.
Michael, your vote?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Resolution passes. And does anyone have any strong feelings about Resolution 2021-05?
No, I would make a resolution to,
Make
A
or
motion.
make a motion to pass Resolution 2021-05.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. I mean,
We'll shake it up a
We'll
little.
shake it up a little, yeah. Any further discussion on 2021-05? Hearing none, we'll go to a roll call vote. Anton, your vote?
Aye.
Take that it was an aye. Craig, your vote?
Aye.
Kelly, your vote?
Aye.
Michael, your vote?
Aye.
I am an aye as well. 2021-05 passes. Now,
Okay.
let's talk about the 2021-06.
Yeah, so for the Eastlund variance, you know, I believe most of the members commissioners went there and looked at it or were knowledgeable enough about the area to have a look-see. And it really, you know, my thoughts about it were like, well, you know, it'd be great to have, but it really ends up being so close to the edge of that property. And, you know, with the trees having to come down in order to put it in, where he wants to put it in, it just ends up making things a little tighter than is in our zoning ordinance. And we spent a lot of time coming up with those dimensions, you know, I know you guys know that,
Mhm.
but, you know, certainly in planning and zoning, we spent, I mean, forever working out what do we want, what looks good, what's fair. And although, you know, you could look at it and say like, and I did think about this, and I put this forward to the commissioners, is that, you know, you could look at it like that is the side rather than that it's the front. But it's a corner lot, so those are both fronts.
Yeah, and our ordinance
Yeah.
kind of flails about with corner lots as far as identifying which is which, and,
Yeah,
yeah.
so in this case, that is, you know, that was the. further-
And if you
Yeah.
look at his drawing, I mean, the request, it says from the front lot line, the front lot I actually take would be 1021 West Second Street, so it would, Second Street, it would face that, and he wasn't 8.5 feet from that. It actually would be 8.5 feet from 10th Avenue, which is how we figured it was sort of the side.
Yeah.
Because the building, the entrance, the front doors to the properties are facing Second Street.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there is a drawing in here, I believe, for
Yeah.
everyone
Yep,
to see.
I was looking at that.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is, you know, trying to keep faith with the numbers that we put out there, and like I said, we did just do this.
Right. Everyone pretty much felt the consensus that since we just put all the new zoning regulations and worked so hard on everything, and the setback is 25 feet, to right away have the first one come through be 8.5,
Mhm.
moving forward, you know, we're kind of going away from what we just worked so hard to put in place for many different reasons. So many of us were not comfortable with that close
Okay,
of a variance,
Yeah.
because that's what, 16, well, 25 minus 8, 17. So 16.5 feet
Yeah.
encroachment.
yeah. Okay,
So that was the reasoning behind that, and it was a unanimous vote.
okay. I'm assuming that, yeah, with the denial of this variance, he has the possibility of creating other proposals to bring to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Okay, well, I think you laid out pretty clearly what the reasoning was.
Yeah, and it, you know, we, again, as Michael stated, we all had gone through the neighborhood, looked at everything. There wasn't anything structurally that seemed very similar in that. Most of the homes, garages, things were set back, so it would have kind of changed
Okay.
what's occurring within the neighborhood.
Would have put something right there. Yeah,
Yeah, and, you know, when we look at it, when they're asking for that change, it has to be something that the owner didn't do, you know. But, you know, that property's been there a while. It didn't have a garage there, or a shed or whatever. So, you know, it's like, yeah, you didn't, but you want to put this there, and I'm not sure that, I don't know. It seemed like it's kind of creating a problem rather than that there is a problem.
okay. See what you're saying. Yeah, that's, okay. Yeah,
I mean, you know, I'm
appreciate all the
totally-
thought into that.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of it is beautiful. I mean, it looks like a nice structure and all that, but, you know, putting in the slab and then putting up the building, even though it's not very tall, and even though from Second, it will be set back. From 10th, it really won't. And we didn't hear from the neighbors closest, but I guess we only had one comment on that one, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one email on it.
And that was.
There were other people that lived elsewhere in town
That made comment,
made
right.
comment, but there was
But,
actually one
well,
from the neighborhood who
Only
wrote a
one person in
letter.
that neighborhood, yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay.
And they were opposed, so.
So currently, the building currently is more than 25 feet from,
The front of the building, or the front of the
from
new?
10th Avenue
The side of the
West.
house, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the side of the
Yes.
house to
And-
10th Avenue West is, okay.
and it does appear that, I mean, not for us to do, but it does appear like he could move it closer to his building, or,
Oh, nothing. Was that something for us, Kim? Or was that?
Oh. No, I was talking to myself.
You mean that 7-foot space you're looking at?
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
What's in this 17-foot area here?
That's
That
that's
is
road,
the
I think.
street. Yep,
Okay,
that's
but it
10th
says
Avenue
10th Avenue
West.
West curb way over here. It's actually, this is showing both
The
curbs?
curb. Yeah, I think so. That's it. Well, that's his property line.
Yeah, so it must be.
So that must be the public dedication then.
Yeah, so that 17 must include all of.
Yeah, I pulled it up on Google Maps and there's, there's not a ton of space there.
And I went out
They're
and
talking
walked
about putting it
that
right here.
too.
So this is actually a curb here too?
I would assume so, or the curb must be pretty close to there.
Yeah,
Okay, because otherwise there's
That'd be a lot of space.
plenty of room, you
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but no, if you drive and look,
It's, okay, so that 8.5
Yeah.
feet is actually,
And
True.
Greg, if you look at, like if you were on 10th Avenue and you were looking at the carport, and and there are trees there now, but he wants to be going in and out on that side, so those would come down.
Yep.
Presumably.
okay.
He wants to come in on the 10th Avenue West side?
yes, he'd
Yeah,
like to
he want-
change the driveway access to 10th
Oh, see,
Avenue
I didn't get that.
West. That was in the,
That's the storage on that side. Got
Yeah,
it.
which-
Okay, I picked up.
He asked about what Mike put in, that he doesn't actually need to ask. He can just do that.
Okay, all right, that helps. Any other discussion on this? If not, I'd entertain a motion for Resolution 2021-06.
I would so move.
Moved, is there a second?
I will second.
Move in second. Any final discussion? I will say that whenever a denial goes in, that can be really frustrating for the person putting it in. But I definitely think that there are solutions that could be used with this place to accomplish what he's looking to accomplish. Would be glad to entertain more,
Yep.
for him to
Yes.
put different ideas to the planning commission. So, and I
Yep.
appreciate the planning commission doing the work that you did, so.
Yeah, and yeah, we would definitely be willing to have a further conversation with them about that.
Great. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Resolution carries. And we are ready to move on. So the next thing on our agenda is council priorities. There's a ranking exercise that we all did. This was the beginning of the tough part of it, where instead of just throwing everything that we got at the wall and seeing what sticked or what was similar in all of our ideas, we had to kind of start pulling them down.
What sticked?
Yeah, see what's finally sticked. And what were the things that we really, really wanted to stick. So I have an 11-year-old. Grammar is a suggestion at best.
Yes.
So now all the people that took the original priority survey were asked to bring it down to 4, to their top 4, and this is the result.
3.
Was it 3?
3.
Well, I did 4.
Wait a minute!
Well, you're the mayor, I guess you get 4.
I did 3.
didn't count your report.
Okay, good.
Nice try.
All right. Anyway, Patrick, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us a summary of the results of that step in the process.
All right. Well, based on that exercise where department heads and the council were asked to select their top three in order of priority, it's been narrowed down to capital improvements as the number one priority across the board. City Hall liquor store is the second priority, and housing is the third priority. And then, so those are all solidly placed. After those first three, the consensus is a little shakier. So the next highest is Sawtooth Bluffs, followed by code enforcement, followed by human resources and sustainability, then city-county agreements. And so what we're asking you to do today is, if you can take those top three and then pick two more, if you feel that you're ready to pick two more, then we'll just move ahead and we've got our five council priorities set. If you feel that you're not ready to make that decision yet, then we'll set a date to get together and workshop it out.
Okay, I do appreciate how you guys put this stuff together. Talk about resource demand in there, and you also give us an idea of what a course of action for that looks like. You know, that's important stuff for us to keep in mind. That if we identify 5 items that have a very high staff time resource demand, that's going to be a very hard thing for our staff to accommodate. But you know, we can do that. We can definitely identify those things. We just need to know that if we do identify those, then we will probably have to invest in more staff time. Did you almost sneeze?
I almost sneezed.
Okay. All right. Sorry, shouldn't have called it out.
So close.
So, like Patrick said, capital improvements, City Hall liquor store, housing. Those 3 came through ranked relatively high by both council and staff. Does the council feel comfortable moving forward with those 3 items as priorities? And then we can look at the rest of them, see if we're ready to make a call for the rest of that.
So I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm that girl.
That's right.
We
I would expect no less.
I know, right? Here comes Kelly again. So, and I don't know if anybody here, since it had so many votes, capital improvements. I kind of almost want a definition somewhat, or if somebody can kind of tell me what the idea is, because number 2, City Hall liquor store is definitely a capital improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, and I'm fine with however we want to do this, but I need more of a definition.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say I would really like more of a definition of what we're talking about in capital improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Our department heads talking about changing up their list, adding to their list, defining, are we, we've talked about the First Street project, that's a capital improvement.
Correct.
Obviously, we've talked about, and it came up tonight, 4th Avenue West above 5th Street. That's a capital improvement, which obviously concurs with talking with the county, and that hits on here as one of the things that people did list. So I'm a little curious as to what, and I don't know if anybody here put capital improvements, that you could tell me what you thought, what you had in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I would jump in on that. I guess I was thinking along the lines of what you just said and the comments that we got today, that it is those types of things, I feel like.
Okay.
Yeah. I get why the liquor store is called out, because that is, it's more, we know what that is. Like, that's this thing. And I can agree that it's a capital improvement, but
Yep.
it is a very specific capital improvement.
So when you say it, Michael, are you thinking
Yeah.
that we need to list out these capital improvements, kind of rank and say, how are we gonna approach these, or how do we want to tackle What was your thought process?
Yeah, I guess my thinking was well, I mean, obviously, we're getting feedback from our community that's saying like, hey, these are things we'd like you guys to be paying attention to. So we've got that. But also, yeah, talking to the staff and being like, okay, so like we know that infrastructure for everybody is really important. It's important to us. It's important for people who come visit here. So where are we at? And I
Okay.
guess I'm brand new, so I'm not really sure where we're at. But
Right.
I'd like to know, like, what are they seeing as those things that are like right there that we could get to? Like, you know, maybe this street that we're talking, you know, up by the recycle center, you know, maybe that's on the list, but it's just not up on the list. It'd be nice to be able to say, hey, Catherine, sorry, it is on the list, it's just not there on the list.
And I do think that in the suggested action for that piece, having a planning workshop for that, I do agree, Kelly, it would be good for us to have an understanding of what capital improvement means so when we go to that workshop, so that we are actually all talking about the same thing.
Right. Because we
Yeah.
talked, when we did our lunch meeting that one day, we talked
Yeah.
about infrastructure, right? And that's
Right.
where we were talking about, obviously, sewer, water, city streets.
Yeah.
Again, those things are capital improvement as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
So that's, and I'm not trying to say, well, this is stupid, I don't, but I wanted to have an understanding of what people were thinking.
Okay.
So
by this.
remember the spreadsheet that Mike set out when you were choosing your priorities?
Yep,
And he had all of the things listed under what he was calling capital improvements.
It's broken down, yeah.
He had
yeah,
all of the ideas under each of these categories.
right.
So if these are your priorities when we do the work session, then we'll dial down those
Okay.
capital improvements at that time.
Yeah.
Right. And that's my thought and my expectation, but I wanted to understand what other people were thinking, because I don't want to assume what people are thinking. And I think that this number one is going to be, and that's fine, it's going to be a lot of work. There's a lot of drill down that's going to need to be done, which obviously we're talking about a planning and workshop session that has to be done for this. And I'm good with that, but I just wanted to make sure again that we're at least all kind of on the same page or understanding, at least for the five of us, we don't have department heads here, but that, well, and I'll include Kim and Patrick, 7, and Mike's not here, that we have an understanding. So that was where my question came across, is what exactly do people mean when they're talking about capital improvements? So,
I'm willing to share my thoughts on it. So, I believe that I put down capital improvements and City Hall Liquor Store for priorities that I would like to take on. Understanding that City Hall Liquor Store is a capital improvement. For me, it's a bandwidth conversation. Just like I brought up before, if we pick 5 things that are high staff time, like, we're gonna need more staff. And that's something that we need to keep in mind when we're setting these priorities. Within capital improvements, I felt it was appropriate to finish a project that we had started, and thus make within the concept of capital improvements, calling out the specific project and saying, this is something that we have identified that we need to work on. That also spares some of the bandwidth of our staff, so that we can focus on something, make sure that we're doing it the right way, make sure we're communicating with the community the proper way, and then we can get a project done that meets our needs and is well thought of by the community,
Yeah.
because they've had input into it. So that's my thoughts on it. I agree with you. I mean, when we start talking about capital improvements, you start putting these big ethereal concepts out there, and you say, what exactly are we talking about? You know, when we have our workshop in June or July, who knows what we could talk about? I mean, we could talk about
Right.
just about anything under the umbrella of capital improvements.
Yep.
However, specifically within the city, the things that are calling for the most improvement, the most
Yeah.
investment are the infrastructure, like utilities infrastructure, and the street infrastructures, as in the paving and the curbing.
Yeah.
So those are, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a big concept talk point, but identifying specific things within it I don't think are a bad idea, especially if
Nope.
City Hall is going to take a ton of time.
I don't think it's a bad idea, and please don't think I am. Again, I wanted to understand what people are thinking, because honestly, when we say top 5, capital improvements is so huge, I almost feel like we stay under 5. If we really pick capital improvements, I think that's going to be a lot of time, and I think it could be like a 1 and a 2. You know, as far as, I mean, before we had the 5 things we came up with, we touched on them. I felt like we were making progress on some things, and COVID hit, and, you know, our talks with the county have had to set aside because both of us have had to switch gears largely. City Hall liquor store, that we had to set aside because revenues and expenses were very undetermined. But we had touched on those things. Housing, well, we certainly have worked on housing, even through COVID. That has been at the forefront
Yep.
of what we've done. So I feel like some of those things that we set as priorities 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
we touched on. I don't want to see us, and one of the things I don't want to see us do is set us up for failure, to say, well, here's 5 that we want to try and reach and accomplish in 2 years, and maybe we only get to 2 or 3. So my suggestion is if we strongly believe in these top 3, that maybe we don't go with 5.
I mean, that's a fair suggestion. And I mean, I do agree that some of these things that we have here, the fewer we pick, the more time we can spend on them. Looking through the list, the things that didn't quite make the cut, so now housing is something I will never argue against us spending time and energy on housing in this town. I mean, we're going to have to continue to be innovative in coming up with ideas.
Right.
But the rest of them, Sawtooth Bluffs, I think that's important. I also don't know if it's as important as some of the other stuff. You know, code enforcement, boy, that's almost something that we could take care of in the city-county agreements. Human resources, you know, that's something that, you know, that's, to me, it seems like kind of a never-ending story, but something that we can make incremental improvements in. And sustainability, like, I'm committed to the city being sustainable, and we have grant funds for 2021 to have this position. You know,
okay.
taking advantage of that while we have the grant funds, so that we can, you know, either create space in our budget for this position, or to, you know, to make some big leaps forward, I think is really important. So, I mean, it's a hard conversation because a lot of these things really
It
are
is.
important.
Yeah, but you know, to your point, Kelly, I would tend to agree that to kind of, you know, none of these things go away. I mean, some of these
No.
things are just what you do as a city. It just means, like Micah said, and all of you have said too, is that we're just going to be trying to make sure that these get
Right.
some good attention. And I mean, I think to your point about housing, like, yes, housing is never going to go away. It's always going to be a really, really important thing. However, I would point out that we have made a lot of progress there, and I feel like we've set up a really good system for people to come in and build the kind of housing and all that kind of stuff. Like, we've kind of set the table, and we're kind of waiting for people to come in and really build the kinds of homes that can really help out here. So I don't want to necessarily take it off the table, but it is one of those things that I think we've made so much progress on, and we've put so much time into it over the last few years, that I feel like we're in a good space. And if we could, you know, and some of these other things just need to get started.
And I
Like the
feel
liquor
like-
store and the
yeah.
Sawtooth Bluffs, I mean, we've made commitments out there, or people feel like we've made commitments, whether we have or not.
We've
but
made
they
some
feel like
commitments.
it.
Yep. We've
But, you
definitely
know,
made some commitments.
But it's definitely out there. I mean, people feel like we've made these commitments. We said we're going to do it. So I kind of feel like those things have to get.
Anton rejoined.
He just popped
Oh.
up. Sounds like he's driving.
You're
so.
quiet, Craig. Thoughts?
Well, no, when I was going through this, I was throwing around housing and
Yeah.
capital improvements was one of them, but when you start looking at capital improvements, that kind of bleeds into housing as far as I'm concerned with the public utilities aspect of it.
Mhm.
We have some areas in town where we could get sewer and water too. That would definitely help in possible housing, whether it's funded by the city or we work with land and property owners through, you know, putting it on your taxes or whatever. I mean, you know, that's, as far as what the city can do for housing, that's a pretty important piece of it.
Yeah.
Especially if that helps developing within the city, of course. So I kind of threw that around thinking, well, that kind of bleeds into that. And you're right, capital improvements is like a huge basket of everything. You know, we've been talking about fixing streets, and that's been going on and on and on. And now we have 2 comments talking about paving streets. Those are things I think kind of maybe fall into, like, we maybe forgot about our general maintenance kind of thing. You know, maybe then those things should have been fixed a long time ago, but we didn't do it. So maybe we should just, like, get those things fixed, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's, capital improvements means general maintenance kind of stuff, to a certain point it can, I guess, but, in the City Hall liquor store, I mean, I know we've put a lot of time into that as of right now, but I think we need to readdress, you know, the cost of the project and how big a space we actually need for City Hall. I think that, you know, when we got that price per square foot, it was like, man, if we cut.
Can you imagine what it would be today right now with
Well, that's
everything?
the thing I'm talking about. It's like, and the other thing on housing too, that kind of scares me right now too,
Yep.
because the cost to build right now. There's all of those things are factors for getting housing for people
Yeah.
in our affordable living. And, you know, there's a lot of things like, what does affordable mean? I mean, there's all kinds of.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
big thing though that the city can do is say, hey, we have utilities, we can develop these areas, we can do this, and maybe we work with certain landowners that are interested in doing this thing to help that. And with
Yeah.
the new zoning laws that we have, maybe that will help too.
Yeah.
You know, putting that all together in a package. So, as we talk about it, because there's many
Yeah.
layers of capital improvements. And also, with capital improvements, sit down with Tom, sit down with the, you know, the guy, Matt, the guys in the electrical, you know, and say, hey, what kind of things do you see that we're
Yeah.
not seeing, you know?
Yeah, I think
You
you
know.
make some really good points. I mean,
It's,
I've talked with contractors that have said the biggest problem with developing here is that it's not affordable to connect to the utilities for where they are. You know, like the utilities
yeah.
terminate at certain points. And
Right.
if we were to put focus on expanding utilities, we've
Yep.
set the stage with our zoning. Of course, now, expanding utilities is obscenely expensive.
Well, we're doing some, I'll talk about that into town.
Yep.
You probably know about that, but
Yeah.
anyway, that helps that part of the project, but.
But if we make that a focus, so if that's part of what we're talking about when we talk about capital improvements, is to be able to actually expand our utility infrastructure instead of just maintaining it. You know, I mean, let's not get in over our head too. I
Right.
know all these projects are
Right.
are
Like-
million dollar projects.
Right, like we don't want to expand into places that people don't want to be, you know?
Right. Well, where the land is
Right.
available, I mean,
Yeah.
we have all that information. You know, when we were working on the Nordic Star development, we were,
Right,
like, we went through and looked at literally every single available piece of property in the city. And that one made the cut because utilities were right there. You know what I mean? Like that's what enables those developments to happen. So-
Well, and where does it make, if we expanded, where does it make sense? Obviously, if you have a ton of bedrock, that's not a place that you're gonna pick to go to, right? Because you're digging, you're blasting, versus some place that might have not so much, or
Right.
none.
Yeah, prioritization of those locations.
Yeah.
yeah.
We have to really, but we're
But we
kind
don't
of
wanna
doing
jump
some
the
of that with
market.
planning and zoning
Yeah.
as well, looking at where our sewer is, right? I mean, I kind of feel like with the housing thing,
Yeah,
planning and zoning, we kind of have that in our hands right now still. We
Okay.
are
we
working.
got it.
We're working to figure things out and do that, where I feel like, even though we're council and planning and zoning, that we're kind of working that section, and we can come back to this group and bring information forward and continue the brainstorming and continue
Yeah.
to share information as we need to,
Right.
you know, as we come forward with things and figure things out and have a better understanding.
Well, let's change the conversation on housing just a little teeny bit.
Yeah.
So this is currently on the planning commission's work plan, right?
Mhm.
Like you
Yeah.
guys are and will be working on the sewer expansion
Yep.
and other issues having to do with housing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That is a priority of the planning commission that has
Mhm.
been made very
Correct.
clear. So does that then need to be a priority of the council and this council and the staff, the council staff? You know, that's the question I have, because if the planning commission is doing it and you are empowered to make the changes that are necessary to impact that, then does the council have a role in like, should that be a priority also for the council?
Well,
Because like, you guys put all this stuff together, bring it to the council, the
Right.
council's
Right.
gonna say, whoa, good work. You know, I mean, I just wondered about that.
I don't feel like it has to be. When I saw that, I kind of went, oh, really? Because I feel like we've done so much, and planning and zoning is still working on it, that I thought, I'd like to see this group move into something else.
Yeah.
It's not that we've dropped housing
No.
or that it's off the list, but that's been handed to planning and zoning, and they can come back to the council, or we, or however you want to state it, can come back with that.
yeah.
I feel like it could be taken out of the third spot. It's still there, and I think Craig's right.
Yeah,
It
goes
bleeds
right to
in
what
and it
Craig was
goes
saying.
hand in hand somewhat with capital improvements, depending upon how you want to look at things. But it's there.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of our capital improvements, that we say, hey, we want to expand our water sewer capabilities to this area. Okay,
enable.
now what does that mean for planning and zoning? And we get to come back, we get to have that conversation.
Right.
But the council would have, so I don't know, know.
Well,
Anton, you're kind of quiet too, but I know you're dropping in and out. Must be traveling.
I'm sitting still here now.
Okay,
Okay.
You guys hear me okay?
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
My take was like the capital improvements was related, like Craig was saying, to housing. Not, I mean, of course it does associate with the liquor store, city hall as well, but my push was I didn't put city hall, liquor store in my list. I put housing probably as number one. And I think the capital improvements side of that is really think that the next push in order to do.
We
Anton,
lost you,
You're
Anton.
kind of breaking up. Yeah.
Do it is
We've lost you. There he
Yep, there he
dropped.
goes.
Shoot.
Yeah, he must be kind of.
I'd be curious to hear his take, because he's got housing as number one, it sounded like.
Well, here's a thought too as well. I mean, I like bouncing these ideas around. So we've already identified capital improvements as potentially encompassing the City Hall liquor, well, totally encompassing the City Hall liquor store project, and potentially encompassing what we want to accomplish with housing.
Right.
So if we were to identify the housing, and what I feel, I agree with you, Michael, we've done a lot of work, we've kind of set the table here. I do believe that the city has a role in incentivizing the continuing development of housing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, by developing more utility presence in different areas, like that's an incentive. If we, you know, have other, I don't even know what other incentive concepts we could come up with that would encourage the building of livable units, you know, home type units, or even density units. I mean, where it's allowed, that like those things. I think that's what the focus of the housing push should be,
Yeah.
and whether or not that's a planning and zoning priority or work item that should be done, or if it's a council priority item, that's where I think the housing conversation should be. How can we incentivize? How can we make sure that the things that we've changed in the zoning ordinance actually have an impact?
Yeah,
Actually do what they're supposed to do.
right.
What are the still the existing barriers to developing, and how can we do that? I also think that the cost of developing right now is
Right.
pretty
I mean,
stupid.
Yeah,
And that's nobody's fault. It's just, it might be a good time to do some preparation so that when there is development coming back in, we can be there for it.
yeah, yep.
So I don't know if that probably doesn't help at all in our picking of our top priorities, but it might put things into a bit of a different context for how
Yeah,
we can actually
no,
relate to
true.
them.
Well, and the other thought that goes along with all of that, when you go with housing, however you look at it, is code enforcement. I think especially this year, over the last several sessions, we continue to have letters from people who are struggling with lack of some of the code enforcement, which I know is bigger than just us. I don't know about anybody else. I'm tired of looking at somebody saying, well, there's not much I can do. And that's me. I'm a people person. I want to fix something for somebody else. And I want to try to help where I can within boundaries. And some things, I think it's really important that we kind of figure out, hammer this stuff out, what is important to us with code enforcement, put something in place, and then try to follow it. I know that it includes discussions with the sheriff's department, but I think if we tell them it's a priority and here's what we've done and how do you need it spelled out to enforce it? I mean, I know it's conversations with them also, but I really think that when people are living here, it's expensive. People choose to be here. People contribute to our community. I drive up and down the streets right now. There's trailers in front yards. I'm not gonna lie, it bothers me because it's hard for neighbors. Hi, Anton. He's back.
Back.
We have many yards that are, I'll say, littered or overcrowded. The letter last time where somebody's having, and it's not the first time, somebody's having a hard time having their house sell in this community, which is almost unheard of right now, because of that. And whether it's that we educate people, whether we show them what's available, how can we help them, I feel like code enforcement is very important. In human resources, it's not just about how do we hire or how do we get things done, because we know everybody's having a hiring shortage. It was on the news tonight before I left about Duluth. Duluth is coming to their city council asking for help because their number one issue right now is they can't find workers. And I didn't get to hear what's going on, but also with human resources is the people that we currently employ are our biggest asset. It's not our infrastructure, it's not our utilities, it's not our public works building, it's the people who are in place that people actually look at the face, talk to, work with, come to for questions, come to when they don't know what else to do, and how do we respond? And what information do they have? I mean, our relationship with Kim, Patrick, and Mike right now is so invaluable because that's how we set what happens here and how we share information. So human resources, to me, and I put it on there, obviously, not that it's a top one, and I understand, but it's more than just hiring or planning out what are we going to do when we don't have workers.
Right.
I look at, and I think of Sawtooth Bluffs, it's more, it talks about recreation. I feel like, even though I know people have worked very hard on it, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I don't know if we need more recreation here, and if we do, if we add a campground, if we add these places, who's going to work at them? Because we're not filling the spots that we have open in our community right now.
Okay.
Well, and where are those people gonna live that we do hire? I mean, Dave brought up at the last meeting I was at, right, about having to possibly limit sites,
Right.
you know, because they can't get people to work and,
Yep.
or they can't find people. I mean, if Matt's looking for a new lineman, I mean, that's a great paying job, but if there's no place for that person to, you know, they might be able to find somebody out of trade school that's ready to go. But if they don't have a place to move up here with their family, what
Yep.
does that mean? I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, Kelly. I think all of those ones that got brought up are so important, but I
know.
really think that, I mean, I admittedly did put Sawtooth Bluff on there, but I don't think that, you know, I don't think that there's, I guess I put it as number 3. But I really think the housing and infrastructure side is, or capital improvements, I guess is what I was thinking was infrastructure.
Yeah.
And that willingness for the city, which it's been unwilling to do, because it's not cheap, but that willingness to push infrastructure out, you know, not like annexing in new areas of the county, but within the platted area of the city of Grand Marais. A lot of the zoning stuff we dealt with took care of a lot of this infill things that we have happen right in the city proper. But around the outskirts, in areas that have been platted for over 100 years, I mean, the best person or the best organization to take care of that is the city. And whether it's through, you know, bonding and special assessments to the property owners that are now going to have that. I mean, you could, every city block you run up, you're opening up 20 lots according to the new zoning, right? That
Right.
20 lots to be able to put a house on them. And maybe you're not going to put a house on every one of them. Maybe it's every 2, which is kind of more sized with the way things used to be. But, you know, I mean, it needs to be this big picture look at how it's going to happen. Otherwise, none of the other things that we have, we're not going to be able to, you know, when Kim decides to retire, when Mike decides to retire, when they decide to, you know, I mean, where's this next generation of folks that we, you know, are really doing the everyday work for us in our city, in the city government? Where are they going to be? Where are they going to live? And I also think that we have an opportunity right now with the amount of people that are able to work remotely, that they're never going back into their office, right? Like, it's not just folks, I mean, older folks that are coming up here as a second home and then retirement. I mean, that's fantastic for the nonprofits and what makes our town so cool. But we have an opportunity right now with young families. You know, they're not going to go back to their job at Medtronic. They can keep working long distance. Why would they, if they're thinking about moving up here when they're 60, wouldn't it be great if they move up here when they're 40 and they've got kids that we can add to the school system? Where are they supposed to go to? We have an opportunity to grow, you know, and grow in a positive way, bring families in. I think if we make that investment in pushing, you know, into those platted areas that have been identified for a long, long, long time. Sorry to be in and out on all this stuff too and jump back and forth.
You're showing your commitment. You keep coming back.
We're glad to have your thoughts.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Anton.
so Kelly, you did something just in going through your thoughts on these that I would like all the counselors to do, which was identifying the ones that you would pick. And so you talked about capital improvements, you talked about, you know, that encompassing potentially those other projects, and then code enforcement, human resources. Those were the ones that I heard you talk about.
I did. I think, I can't remember directly. I was trying to look to see on my sent emails. I think human resources might have been my third one. Code enforcement was probably my first, and I want to say maybe City Hall Liquor Store. Again, they all really blend, and I don't think any of the answers are wrong. We all have feelings about things for certain reasons, and probably with feedback from people. So, that was kind of where I was at. Because I think we need to do something for the people who are here. I think we need to do something to try to find a way to get people here. And that involves enforcement and housing capital improvements. But we need the HR staffing in order to accomplish all this. So
And
you
we
see
need the
where
housing for the,
yeah.
So the HR people have a place to live.
right?
So Michael, if you're gonna pick
just the.
4 or 5. So the
So
priorities.
going to
that-
4 or 5?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
so we're kind of, we've gone this, we've gone from this to this, and now we're going back to this. So we're,
yeah.
You know,
I-
just trying to see if there's any patterns in what people are interested in here.
Yeah, so the capital improvements, I just feel really strongly, and again, I see that tying in, kind of, as Craig was pointing out, with housing. Like, I feel like that's, so I would definitely have that as one of my tops, for sure. The City Hall liquor store, I just feel like it's been out there, we've made that commitment, and we need to get that going. The thing I see with the liquor store, and this is just from my retail background, is feeling like it could also be a moneymaker. I mean, it is, but it could be even more so. And that could be really a great thing, I feel, like really great asset. And then I would also, slide in Sawtooth Bluffs. I feel like we did, we've put that out there. People are expecting that of us, and I agree, Kelly, like, do we need more? I mean, but hopefully, if we do all this right, we'll be able to accommodate that, and it will be a bonus, and that will be more jobs and more people able to stay year-round and that kind of thing. So, I would slip that in there as well.
Okay.
And I guess overall, yeah, code enforcement, I mean, I can't deny that that's something that just cheeses me off so bad that I don't know, it just feels like it's a tough one, and we're so cheek to jowl here in town that, we want people to just do the right thing. I mean, this is the rule, so just
Be a
do
good
it, but
neighbor,
they
yeah.
don't.
Be a
and,
good neighbor, yeah.
And we prefer that, we all prefer that, but sometimes we do need to say like, hey, this is the rule, and you really got to do it. But anyway.
Okay, cool. Craig? If you're gonna pick the 5 that the council's gonna focus on, what would they be?
Well, I think I did capital improvements. I don't know if I did housing or not, but I just kind of thought those went together in my mind as far as the city being involved in housing. Of course, we could be working with the EDA, we could be working with all these other entities, even perhaps at the county level too, for the housing part of it. But a lot that really concerns me, and I don't know, this is kind of going off topic here a little bit, but I look at numbers in our school, graduating class numbers and those kinds of things, and I get kind of concerned when we graduate 30 kids, 25 kids. What can we do as a city to get families back? What's our average age in this county? 59,
Something like that.
something like that?
It's quite high.
I mean, and I understand that it's a retirement community, and I think that's fine. There's communities like that all over the country. But when we're looking at trying to provide housing for families and stuff like that, it's hard to do in a retirement type community when retired people have their nest egg and they come up here and they buy real estate, and it doesn't matter what the real estate costs. And that's pricing a lot of first home buyers just completely out of the market. It's affecting rent is going up. All these things kind of fit in. So it's kind of a complicated topic, very complicated.
It's a Rubik's Cube is what it is.
But it's, I'd like to see numbers in our school get back to healthy numbers. Back in the day when, I don't know, 75, 80 kids graduating. If you have a healthy school district, you have a healthy community, I think, number-wise. Now, what jobs are there? Maybe those jobs will be created as we do things like infrastructure build out or whatever. I don't know. I talk to 100,000 people every day, it seems like. Man, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that, I'd like to do this, I could build that, I could do this, but I can't find help. There's businesses now that like to stay open 7 days a week, but they can't find help.
Right.
It's just.
I work in a place with professionals, right? We have nurses, we have nursing assistants, lab techs, we can't find that. We've had I mean, if you look at the website, we're littered with ads. We have an HR position open, top of HR. They're not, last I knew, they were not getting many applicants. So it's, yeah, I don't know what it is.
So for me, putting this into, like, if I gotta just pick, it's kind of hard for me to just say, oh, let's pick these things. It's like, it seems like we run into and bump into all this stuff all year long.
All the time.
And I know we want to accomplish something. I do understand that. And I don't know if we ever had an exercise or not. I like to pull up that stuff we talked about 3 years ago. What did we do? How did we do on that list? Did we do that?
Let's see
You
if
know what
I
I'm
can
saying?
pull it up.
I don't-
I remember that. We identified,
Let's say, Craig
we
probably wasn't
identified
on. Were you on the
the
council
city
when we did
code.
it? Probably not.
Yeah,
City code was our number
we
one
had
priority.
we were in the
Yep, higher ed.
higher
Yep.
ed, and we had
Okay.
we made a list.
Yeah, city,
Yep.
the city ordinances, and enforcement that was like the top of our list.
Okay,
at
so
that time.
we've
So
been
we
working on
chipped
that.
away at that. I
Yep.
think housing was on our list too.
Mm-hmm.
And then what the heck was-
County, city relations.
I think those
Was
might have
on
been,
there.
Contracts,
I think
yep.
those might have been the top ones. And so when you look at what we've accomplished with those county-city, relationships, that's been a tricky one. Like you said, things kind of been shut down. They've been in a process of transition. So, maybe that's a good time for us to pull that one back up, because now
Mhm.
there's a new administrator there in place, and
Yep.
we still have,
Right.
the solid relationship that we've had with the county in the past several years. So,
And we're moving out of, well, public health and human services, but we're moving out of COVID times a bit. It is
Yeah.
starting to
we're
ease.
shifting a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked because
No, I know, I understand, but
But-
to pick just four,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I wrote down the top 7 here, and I think they're all pretty important.
So it sounds to me like we should schedule a planning workshop.
So we can say all this again, Kim?
Probably, the voice of reason
Well,
speaks out. Is that what
It
happened?
probably wasn't a bad idea to look at what we wanted to accomplish, and where are we at those things. I know you just summarized some of that stuff, but I think we all have kind of a little different viewpoints on how we interpreted some of these things. Like you definitely did. I just kind of threw housing out because I thought, well, heck, for as far as the city is concerned, that's capital improvements. We can help in housing if we can help capital improvements, whether it's sewer, water, electricity, developing some areas within the city that we could look at and do. I don't know. Those are the things that I didn't mean like I threw housing out. I just thought we could fold that into that.
Yeah.
So if
But,
we were to do a planning workshop on this, then we could basically have everyone go through, say what their interpretations of
Who's
those things
that?
are,
Yeah.
and then go. He's with Chris.
Oh,
So I mean, does that sound like something we should do? I mean, we can
Yes.
keep talking about this.
yeah.
And I think that we could talk about this for a long time. It might make more sense for us to put some structure behind it and actually dedicate some time specifically to it.
But I'd like to see some movement on some stuff, my personal opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been here, not forever, but I've lived here forever, but I haven't been sitting here forever. But, I'm kind of sick of looking at a dirt road that should have been paved 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And it seems like every council talks about it. I mean, those are just things we just got to do.
I know.
Let's just do
Government
'em.
moves slow.
Yeah, but let's just do them, get them done, and move on. Check it off, move on. There's a long list out there. We can create a really long list. But let's
I'm
just
good with
start
that.
chunking
That doesn't
stuff.
bother me a bit.
Let's start
Let's do
chunking
it.
some of
Sounds
it
like-
off.
I'd be thrilled to do
And
that.
let's look
Yeah.
at funds, look at, hey, we can't do that, so we can do this,
To a certain extent, we have a list that's kind of like that, but
Yeah.
I agree with you that we can
And
accelerate.
I know that,
if we-
that one road we're talking about, the recycling center, yeah, that's a county city type thing, but let's just sit down with the county and say, hey, look, how can we get this done?
Mhm. I think we've had some of those conversations.
And now it's
So-
bothering people that live up there, it's, it's.
Yep. And I
that's
know
just
how
one
awful
thing.
it
There's
is.
many things, that's one thing. But it's not that
Construction.
complicated
Mhm.
to get an alley paved, to get, and like,
Yeah,
and it's kind of essence, it's kind of important to move on it, because if we have blacktoppers in town right now, like doing things, I mean, we can accomplish this and probably save money doing it. If that's something we want to commit to,
Potentially.
but,
to
I
talk to
mean,
those guys, and
you know,
I think we should sit down with them, see
Huh?
what happens. I think we should sit down with Ed and see what he says about some of these. Because this is kind of, it is kind of late in the game to be adding things on, but if those guys are already up
Well-
here, that we don't have.
Well,
anything
and
No,
else.
I
I'm
think-
not saying adding anything to our highway project. I'm just
Yeah.
saying this would be something, hey, you know, get a quote on something, get a bid on
I was
something.
gonna say, in all fairness, I think we have
Yeah.
to do some bids because I don't want to exclude local people either
No.
from
Right.
Oh, sure.
things, you know?
Well, there's not, nobody's doing local blacktopping. Thorson's aren't doing that anymore, that I know of. Their blacktop plant, I don't think, is operational.
Oh,
Maybe I'm speaking wrongly, but I think we should research that.
Well, let's go back to the council priorities thing, so.
But yeah, I get
Do
it.
do we want to schedule a meeting of some sort, like a workshop with that? If
Yep.
we do, then.
Yeah, I think we
Yep.
have to.
I think we should, just to,
Patrick?
doodle poll, Patrick.
Beautiful. Well, the timeline we have here, I don't know if it might be easiest to work it out right now, unless you guys.
Oh,
able
What kind of
to.
timeline are you looking
I
at?
mean, we're hoping to schedule it next week,
huh.
Scheduling the,
to set up the workshop sometime
Okay.
next week to get started. So, is there a date next
14th
week that
through
would
the
work for you guys,
18th.
or is that?
well, we've got a list, so we can definitely do.
I mean, we can certainly jump in and we can continue doing this. What I've been doing is I've been making tallies by what each of the counselors say, you know, as far as that, you know, creates a concept of what's most important. Of
I don't
course,
know. Has anybody got stuff next Wednesday night? I kind of never put anything in on Wednesdays because
I
it's
don't
usually,
I don't know from day to day right now.
yeah, I bet.
I'm kind of hit or miss next Wednesday. I don't
Okay.
know exactly what's happening.
Next Wednesday.
Other suggestions?
So you're looking for a
Well, I
day
mean,
next week?
I can send out a doodle poll, but our goal is to get it scheduled next week, so I don't know if I'll be able to follow up quicker than if we can set it right now. But if you need your calendars, I can send out a doodle poll in the morning.
I mean, I can look at my calendar right now and I can tell you kind of what's.
And we're
going on.
talking this time slot?
Any time next week.
It's wide open.
Okay. I mean, I could do Wednesday after 4.
I pretty much am available any day. I would say probably 3 o'clock on.
Thursday's not going to work for me. Wednesday.
Well, you know what? I'll be flexible. Whatever other people can do, I think I can make work at work. I will try.
I'm free past midnight.
Past midnight.
Anything after midnight, I'm open for. as
Usually
well.
I'm wide awake about 2 a.m. laying there.
There we go. Send us an email. We'll jump
That's right, we'll meet you down
Wednesday
here.
at midnight.
Wednesday at midnight, which would actually be Thursday. Or would that be Wednesday? That'd be 12 a.m. Anyway.
Anton, any suggestions?
For me, anything after, Wednesday evening or after is best for me. I'll be back around then. But again, if I know when it's gonna be, I can adjust and be available.
And likewise, I can do that. I can try as hard as I can to be there. If it's remote, that's better for me, because Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm planning on not being here.
Okay.
So what is,
I'll make
so
that.
Anton's not back till Wednesday. Jay's gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday out of town.
I mean, I could probably, I'm going to be doing a lot of driving on Wednesday.
Okay, so what about Thursday? 17th.
I could potentially do Thursday morning. Can't do the afternoon.
Okay, I could make it work.
I can make it work.
Thursday, 9 o'clock.
How long? What do you think? Or what kind of time are we budgeting for this? I could,
So Thursday at 9 is what we're saying?
Well,
Possibly.
what are we talking, a couple hours?
2 hours max?
We can do that.
Okay.
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 9 to 11 Thursday.
Here or Jay remote?
I'll probably be remote.
Well, that's
Either
what
way.
yeah.
No, at Thursday I will definitely be remote.
So Thursday the 17th at 9 a.m. City Hall.
Does everyone else
Okay.
want to be here, or do we want to do it all remote?
I'd rather just come here for me.
Yeah, I'll be over.
I'm
Sounds
fine with
good.
that.
That's fine.
It's really hard at home with 3 dogs to get much done.
I believe that. Okay,
Sounds good.
cool. Thanks for the conversation. We'll cover the rest of that conversation then.
Yep.
All right, so the next thing, we have a library board application.
Woo!
This is great. This is Reverend Enno, new to town, pastor at the UCC Church, would like to be on the library board. So he has put in an application. Look through his application. It is complete. Does anybody have any strong feelings about this? Anybody
I
have
would
any-
so move that we appoint him to the library board.
Great. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Excited to see him getting involved. It's going to be fun.
He's got a lot of volunteer experience.
Yep.
All right. Any further discussion? No? Go to roll call vote. Anton, your vote?
Aye.
Craig, your vote?
Aye.
Kelly, your vote?
Aye.
Michael, your vote?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries. Fabulous. Welcome to the board, Enno.
And thank you.
And
Yes,
thank you.
and thanks.
Yes. Okay. Council and staff reports. So, Anton, why don't you kick us off? You got anything?
Yeah, a couple things. Had an EDA meeting last night. That there's sold another business park lot, and which is exciting. I think, I'm not sure, I guess Kelly was right, I did miss the previous council meeting, but there's another business park lot for this one that is up with a contingency attached to it that the legislation going through to allow owner occupied passes the state legislature. If that happens, then that sale will go through. The one that just got approved and accepted, the offer that got accepted yesterday, there's no contingency with that legislation passing attached to it. So that's pretty exciting. Actually then looked at the map of available lots that are up there, and it actually is, there's actually less than you'd think, which is great. The EDA also, Kim was at that meeting, and also we talked about the dog pound, and the EDA was fine with the city basically taking over that lot for use of the dog pound. Yeah.
Good timing.
Perfect. Good timing, Ted. And I guess the logistics of it, like if there was a question of like if it was could be just given over, if it had to be sold for $1, that was going to get worked out. But that's good because then it seems like we can move that process forward.
I'll donate the $1.
Potentially.
No. There you go.
Potentially.
All of us will support it.
And then there was some conversation actually with regards to creating the HRA, Housing Authority, and the EDA being that. And so there's been meetings, I don't know if Patrick's been in on those or Kim, but Mike and the county administrator and Mary in making the EDA the housing authority for the county, basically, which includes Grand Marais, and looking at actually hiring somebody, if that passes, to have somebody that runs the HRA. They're in the process of narrowing down replacement for Mary. They actually had like 13 candidates for the head of the EDA.
Wow.
Got it down to 5, and then I think 3, and then now they have 1. But they're working on negotiations for benefits and salary because they're realizing Mary isn't considered full-time, even though she works more than full-time. And so they're just trying to make sure they're fair, coming up with what that is. We don't, the EDA, I don't know who that is, because it's been, the conversations and interviews have been dealt with we have a, subcommittee for, I don't know if it's an HR subcommittee, that's not what it would be, but that's something. So I'm not on it. So hopefully by the next meeting and the conversation there is once those kind of logistics get worked out on compensation, we'll call a special meeting and then get them approved, if the board sees fit. And, so, by the time we meet next, hopefully we have that information of who the head of the EDA is. I think that's kind of where we're at. I guess one thing I'd throw out there too, I know as part of our open forum, but in the letter from Catherine, is there, if, it would be great to reach out, much like I think Craig reached out last year in getting that whole thing milled up and, smoothed out. That just, was a conversation that made that happen. If we can't do the same thing that's as immediate with getting that paved, is like, how do we reach out to the county as far as getting some sodium hydrochloride down on that to?
I believe we should, because typically calcium chloride happens right around the first week of July. Now, it may have changed things, but that would be coming pretty soon, I'm guessing. So
Okay.
probably needs to be a conversation with the
Okay.
highway department.
I guess I'd just throw that out there. That would be nice. I don't think that would have any negative impact if we were able to find a asphalt company to come and lay blacktop down on top of it. I don't think there's any negative repercussions with having it treated, first. So anyway, I think that's it for me.
Thanks, Anton.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Craig, you got anything?
Yeah. Park board meeting, of course, we approved the 4th of July fireworks. There's going to be the end of June, they're going to start hauling truckloads of rock down to that's going to be the main boat launch in the rec park. They're going to start construction on that, first part of July. So they'll be fencing off the bottom half of that road, closing off that boat launch. So everything's going to shift over to this boat launch for the rest of the summer, which is going to cause some issues with parking out on the point. So we're trying to alleviate some possible, I don't know, as far as people fishing with boats and trailers are just going to we're going to try to block off a few parking spots at the park, at the Coast Guard point. We've done this in the past, but it's hard to keep cars from parking in them. We're going to try to keep them open for boats and trailers, or cars and trailers, trucks and trailers. But just keeping in mind that that's going to become a very busy boat launch when this one closes, especially July and August.
Yeah, there's times,
We'll
I
try
don't
to
know
work
about
it
you
out.
guys, but we fish there, and there's times there's 25 people or more that are parked over there.
Over
And
there,
I don't
yeah.
know, it was an issue a week ago. There actually was a person that was telling people where they couldn't park down there because people were parked, I think it was Memorial Weekend week,
Yeah.
or the weekend before.
Especially
It
on high volume
was,
weekends like 4th of July and the next.
but it'd be
holiday.
nice if they
Yeah.
could, somehow we could mark off and paint boat parking,
Well,
and if law enforcement would tell
we
people
have,
to move.
But you gotta get cars to not park there when there's no parking, and people are gonna park wherever they can find a place to park, or that's, Dave's gonna work on that a little bit, and hopefully we can, maybe look at some other areas to park trailers, I don't know, then people can unhook them and drive back out and park the vehicle, just, that's kind of what we're looking at right now for the parking. There was a application for music in the park. That's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 12 to 1:30. That's local artists. That got approved. There was a golf report. I think everything at the golf course is going pretty well. don't know if he got golf carts yet or not. They're waiting on some parts that were supposed to be ordered for some of these golf carts that we are buying. Dump station at the rec park had to get repaired. That was, I think, yesterday, actually. That was a busy weekend. And then another thing is, you know, the business at the park is pretty brisk this summer. To put things into perspective, you know, you can't get a Boundary Waters canoe area permit. You can't find a place to camp. And they compared May's business to not the COVID May, but the previous May.
2019.
2019, and it's up 40%. So that's a pretty busy. There was some price increases too that will attribute to that, but you know, there's just a lot of people around.
Well,
and
the
I'm
weather's
seeing
been
it every day,
fabulous.
Monday through Friday. So I mean, and they're busy getting work. I mean, things are getting taken care of. They got a lot of younger kids working down there, but they're keeping it up, and they've got a lot of visitors coming and going at the park. I don't think there was anything else on there. The PUC meeting, we did talk about, like I said, there was some upgrading that's gonna get done with the electrical three-phase power over here on west of town by Ace Hardware and up the Elias and, what business are they?
Elias and Mill Road.
Elias and Mill Road, yeah, so.
North
we-
Shore Waste is up there.
Yeah, right. So they're gonna continue and fix that area and upgrade it to three-phase power. That was done through the public utilities. There's an estimate for bearing, trenching, so we approve that work to be done. That'll be like finishing off a part of the community, the town that they didn't finish off years ago. So that would be nice. That's kind of a start of getting infrastructure developed in that area, bringing in that three-phase power.
And that's all within city limits still?
Yep.
Wow,
Right on the edge.
Right on
very
the edge.
cool.
Yep. So, that's about it, I guess.
It's a lot.
The EV, well, I was just talking to Tom today. They just poured concrete back here for the electric charging station that's getting put in the city parking lot. They just put concrete in. I don't think they're operational yet. They have to be, somebody has to come up and inspect them, so. But there will be a slow charging unit and then, of course, a fast charging unit that's there. They're in place. They just have to be turned on, so.
Is there one over by the campground too? Did that one get, or is just this one?
They've used, at the campground, they've used the 40 amp
Okay.
plugs for
40 amp.
charging the.
There's a new
No,
pedestal at
a
There's one down
level
there?
2 charger was installed at the park.
Oh, great.
That's what you
Fabulous.
thought.
same as the one that's over there.
Over here? Great,
Mhm.
that's awesome.
Where's that one located? In the park?
I'm not sure. I think it's close to the.
So by
Is
the,
it-
by the building?
I could
By
tell.
the-
that-
Somewhere in the old pool parking lot, I believe, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Thanks,
okay.
Kim.
Across the
Yeah.
street. Okay, that's all I have.
Cool. Yep. There it is. I know exactly where to look for that. Anyway. Kelly, what do you have?
I was at the planning and commission meeting,
Mhm.
planning and zoning, and we dealt with that tonight, so that's what I've got.
Great.
Did you happen to do a letter? I have a meeting coming Monday with the Passion Pit Committee. Did you do
I have
a
draft.
letter?
I haven't met up with Patrick about it though.
Okay,
So I will, Patrick, when in the next couple of days can I bug you about this letter?
I'll be in the rest of the week.
Okay. Okay, so I've got a draft. I'll make sure it's done. I'll get it to him so that we can get it on letterhead and get
Okay.
it for you.
thank you.
Sounds good. Is that all?
That's it.
Okay, cool. Michael?
And planning and zoning was myself as well. So, and we have gone through that.
Copycat.
I know, it's terrible,
It's terrible. Okay,
but that's what I have.
great. Anton's already done his. All right, so I've got a couple of things. Some of these are things that we can take care of, I can take care of behind the scenes, so to speak. I did get an email from the officer in charge of the Coast Guard station saying that the Coast Guard has made the decision to consolidate, what do they call it? Consolidate redundant stations. And so what they're saying is that, did you get that? when the stations were created, they were created with the concept of technology, not what they have now. The boats that they have now are faster, they're more capable, the helicopters are faster. So our facility is, as they say, irrelevant to their response time. So that, that means that they're gonna close our station down. That means that we should begin that conversation again about the, have a good night.
Thank you.
Begin that conversation again about what that looks like for the city for the future.
We have no option to write a letter asking them to reconsider.
So,
They are military. We could, and they've got there's a comment period right now.
Yeah, so we can
We
comment.
can definitely put our comments in there and say
Yeah.
like, yo,
so where's?
Are we, I'm sorry, Greg, go
It's
ahead.
okay, where's the nearest facility, Duluth?
Duluth and
Duluth.
Sault Ste. Marie.
That's
Oh, my God.
that's a long
Your
boat.
your
long
boats
boat
might
ride.
be fast, but
They're not
not
that
fast
fast.
enough if somebody's
I think
going.
we should send a letter, but I don't know. if that's
Do we
what
send a
matters.
letter as the city or as
Well, we
individual?
can all comment. I think I looked at the way that they had the
Yeah, I didn't-
comments set up is that it was an individual. So if all of us commented as city councilors, then I think they'd probably get the idea that the council thinks that's a bad idea.
Somewhat concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is different from the conversations I had with them several years ago. The conversations I had with them several years ago was that they were committed to this station and that they were interested in having a conversation with the city for a trade. That we would get that property out there, the city would, and then the city would provide for them then a facility that would meet the needs. That was built for 15 or 16 people. And now
Right.
they have like 3 on rotation.
Right.
And so they need something that can house 3 people in individual rooms, that has a place for a weapon safe and a garage for their boat. That's what they're looking for. Now, that conversation obviously is no longer on the table, at least according to the letter or the email that I got. So that's something that, maybe it is an idea to call this guy up and have more of a in-depth conversation with him. I can certainly do that as the mayor if the council wants me to. I have
feel
talked to him before.
I feel it's important, and I'm more than willing to write a letter as well. I'm wondering, Patrick, would you have time to reach out to the sheriff's department tomorrow and ask if they could tell us how many calls they've maybe had in the last, I don't know how many years I want to say.
Lake Superior.
Water calls?
Water calls, water emergencies in the last 5 years.
I can do that.
And just email me that. I'd like to say I could, but I kind of we're at month end.
And maybe they're concerned too, because I know the sheriff's department does have search and rescue equipment. However, I don't know how well adapted it is to Lake Superior.
Well, or
Right.
nighttime. I mean, I look at what happened this spring when somebody, I don't know what it was, but they literally were here, both helicopter and Coast Guard. It certainly lit up the sky.
Mhm.
I look at, I have to think, it was right before Christmas 2015 when we had the
Oh, down in Luton.
drownings at Bluefin Bay.
Yeah, yeah.
I know it doesn't happen a lot, but I don't want to be the person, and I don't
Yeah.
want to,
Well, it's a safety.
I think it's worth us,
We can start that conversation, and we
I think
can-
it's worth us doing an
Yeah.
ask.
and
Well,
I'll do that.
So maybe
Should
we
be
should write
responsible.
letters and
Yeah.
Jay
They
should
will
call.
definitely talk to us. I mean, they are officers in the military. That's what I've discovered about talking with them several years ago, is that they respond to requests because they are required to respond to requests. Now, whether or not they think that we're, someone that they have to respond to, I think they probably will. What their response will be, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say. There's a lot of big boats around here. I don't think that the sheriff's department has one of them. Border Patrol has a massive boat now, and I don't know what their plan is with that.
They had
So-
water today.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Well,
like,
they need to
it's
do
kind of
trainings.
like the
Coast
Coast
Guard.
Guard.
yeah. So anyway, I can certainly get a call there. I would encourage you all to submit comments to that.
Okay.
If you need that email, I'm sure that we can get that sent to people.
I got one.
Yeah,
Just-
I got it too.
Just to clarify, Kelly, would that be Lake Superior or just water? in-
No, Lake Superior, because that's what the Coast Guard would
Response.
monitor and respond to.
Mhm.
They wouldn't respond inland.
We have, so continuing on, we have some maintenance questions from people about some of the new plantings and grass and stuff that we have, who's gonna be taking care of that. I do think that, you know, it's a simple thing. Do we send our guy out to water the grass to make sure that it doesn't die before it gets itself established? Seems like a pretty simple thing to talk about. So maybe
In the
we,
new sod they're putting down?
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, isn't that supposed to be warranted for?
Probably
When they
some
put the new sod down, isn't there like a 30-day or 90-day? I mean, there's some kind of warranty thing
Probably.
that they have to water it and keep it, yeah, right, but, because everybody's been asking me, are you gonna cut your grass? I said, I always have. If you want your property looking nice, you're gonna have to cut it, because I don't think the state's gonna cut it, and I don't think the city's gonna cut it. I mean, you know, it's just maintenance of the
Right.
front of your property, even though you don't own that property. I've always cut it, but,
Yeah.
I don't know, what kind of conversation have we had with the
Let's-
city?
yeah, let's talk with MnDOT and see what they're,
Right.
at what point they're not going to take care of it, and
Right.
then, or if they aren't
And it's
gonna take
critical
care
to
of it.
water right now.
Yeah,
I was
I
gonna
think
bring
so,
that
too.
up. Now that we're talking about it, let's just bring it up. They're putting sod down on basically class 5 gravel, and I just don't see how
Oh,
it's gonna
my.
work. I mean,
Over here?
well, they're raking
Yeah, I
and
saw them
stuff, and
rolling
I
that
get
out
it, but there's
today.
nothing really going down on top of that dirt other than the sod.
Hmm.
And maybe it'll hook up and grow, I don't know, but if it's got a warranty type issue with it, then that's the installer's
Right. Patrick,
concern.
is that something we can make a note for?
Well, I was linked on an email to.
Did anybody get the,
Say it again, Anton, you're cutting out.
no, Patrick's gonna say the same thing.
Okay, go ahead, Patrick.
I was linked on an email today from Ed
Okay,
that was
yeah.
sent to Jim Boyd.
Yes.
And Ed Welch from MnDOT said that he's gotten a number of concerns about that, and he said that the contractor is paid after the work is done, so they won't be paid until the sod has
Taken.
taken, yeah.
Okay.
So his intention with the email is to reassure that it will the final product will be desirable because the contractor won't be paid unless it is.
Okay.
Right. They're saying there's a 30-day period of time.
Something, I don't know that.
30-day
Is that
maintenance
what there
period.
was? Okay. But I know there are
Class five's not
private
a good place to
businesses
start.
right now that have garden hoses out and they're watering it. I know Subway was doing it out of there. So I mean, there are people that are trying to help
Yeah.
them with it, because,
Awesome.
you know,
So for 30 days, it's on them though, or, and I assume that means 30 days after the,
after it's put down.
After it's laid.
after it's put down or either,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, I'm glad to talk about that.
Right.
Active Living Steering Committee, the clinic got their bike-friendly business designation, and we're working towards getting the organization set up as a Bike Minnesota, Bike MN chapter, which will connect us with some funding. And doesn't change our mission, doesn't change anything like that, doesn't skew anything towards biking more than anything else. It's just that it opens up some lines. The Bike MN organization is well connected and has a lot of really good resources that can help the Active Living Steering Committee's mission. So that's good stuff.
Great.
I think that's all that I have. Patrick, Kim, do you have anything? Nope. All right, so now the next item on the agenda is for a closed session to discuss legal strategy regarding pending litigation in the matter of the City of Grand Marais, NPDES permit number MN00200010. So this portion of the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Grand Marais will be closed pursuant to Minnesota Statutes Section 13D.05, Subdivision 3B, under the attorney-client privilege exception to the Minnesota Open Meeting Law.
Do we need to make a motion?
We will, when I'm done reading all this stuff.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
The city's need for confidentiality outweighs the purposes served by the open meeting law in this case based on the following. Absolute confidentiality is necessary so that the city council and legal counsel can have a candid and open discussion to determine the available legal options to handle pending litigation, including strategy and any possible areas of resolution. The purpose of the closed meeting is not to make a decision behind closed doors, but instead it is to determine the legal options for handling the referenced pending litigation. The only business to be discussed in the meeting is the pending litigation. An open session would be detrimental because it may take place in the presence of individuals involved in the pending litigation. A closed session would benefit the public because the ultimate outcome of the pending litigation may impact the finances and regulatory authority of the city. I will now entertain a motion to close this portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
That's second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Anton, your vote. He's locked. We'll say that that's a no. Or we'll just say that that's, we'll just hold out.
Well, that's,
Oh, we
Nope.
gotcha?
Green dot.
no,
Green dot. Okay.
I guess he's unable.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
I am an aye as well. And we will say that, I don't know how we're gonna say that if Anton just doesn't get a vote. I think that we can't say that he voted because he didn't say anything.
There he is.
So- Oh, you got us? You're aye. Okay, great. We got you. Aye. Got it. We got him. All right. So the motion passes. The city council will now go into closed session. The time is 8:13 p.m. Only the officials and consultants of the city who reasonably require access to this data may be in attendance for any portion of the meeting for this agenda item. This portion of the meeting should not be taped or otherwise electronically recorded since it has been closed under attorney-client privileges. The minutes of this portion of the meeting should reflect only that a meeting was held with its date, time, location, who was present at the meeting, and the purpose of the meeting. In addition to the city council, the following persons are present for the closed meeting. Chris Hood, attorney at Flaherty and Hood. Daniel Marks, attorney at Flaherty and Hood. And I believe that that is all of the additional people we have. Members of the city council, I now have our appointed legal counsel begin our discussion on this agenda item.
Give me just a second to shut off all this equipment.
Okay,